What's going on, YouTube? Back for another week. This week we're going to talk about something that's very important. We're going to talk about how to successfully transform from being a peer to being a supervisor. Congratulations, you've become a supervisor. Now that you're the guy that's in charge or the girl that's in charge and you're a supervisor, you have proven that you're better at your job than anybody else, so you can go out to the job and the same people you work next to, make sure that you boss them around, tell them what to do, and make sure that they do everything that you tell them to do, because since you're the supervisor, what you say goes, right? Wrong, stupid. Yes, you have recently been promoted to being a supervisor or maybe a team leader. And yes, you have displayed that you have the skills and potential to be able to lead the people that you were working next to. Here's the brass tacks. Bossing people around, telling them what to do, that's not going to make you a better supervisor. That's not going to even make you a better person. If anything, that's going to cause you to either be no longer employed with the company that you're working for or the organization that you're working for, or totally alienating you from the main people that you need to make sure they do their job so that you can do your job. So how do you make this transition? What do you need to make sure that you focus on in order to be a successful supervisor when coming from the peer? I'm going to discuss 6 things that are important for you to know in order for you to be a successful supervisor. First on the list, when you're promoted from being a peer member to a team leader or a supervisor, the first thing that you need to make sure that you do is to establish clear expectations of what you need. Establishing clear expectations lets everybody know up front what you expect from them, and in the same token, it gives them an idea of what they can expect from you. You need to be clear in what your desires are, clear in the mission of the organization, clear in what you expect them to do, and how you expect them to do it. Now, let's be clear. I'm not talking about micromanaging them. We covered this. Micromanaging is not good. You don't want to be a micromanager. What I am talking about is making sure that your team knows what their goals are and knows how their goals are expected to be achieved. Another trait that will help you become a successful supervisor is to always make sure that you are fair and consistent. Make sure that you are always fair and consistent. Now, realistically, we all know that life isn't fair. Since we know that life isn't fair, when you're at the workplace, it's your job as a team leader or supervisor to try to make sure that you treat everybody as fair as possible. You cannot show bias. When you show bias and favoritism, you lose credibility as a supervisor. So you definitely don't want to do that, because once you lose your credibility, you're no longer an effective supervisor. Whenever you're trying to make a good transition from being a peer to a supervisor, and you shouldn't stop no matter how long you've been a supervisor, you should be requesting feedback. You should seek feedback. Seeking feedback allows you as a manager, supervisor, or team leader to know where your flaws are, where your team thinks your flaws are. It can help you improve on your flaws. Maybe your team members have a different way or a more improved way of getting a task accomplished. When you seek feedback, you constantly know where you are in the process of whatever you're trying to get achieved. So always seek feedback, and it should be honest feedback from your team members. That way you always know where you stand and what you have to improve on. It is also important for a new supervisor or team leader to develop your leadership skills. Leaders are made, they're not born. Nobody is born with the skills necessary to be a good leader. These skills have to be developed. You need to constantly work on these skills, improve on them. Just because you're good at something today, you can become even better at it the more you practice it, the more you develop it. Think of being a leader like being a coach of a team. Take football, for instance. If you're the head coach of a football team, you want to make sure that the coaches under you are developed, that your players are executing their plays the way that they're supposed to, so that your team can be successful. In order to do this, you have to constantly develop your craft so that you can become a better leader. This is an area that a lot of new supervisors or team leaders sometimes stumble with. You have to make sure that you build trust in your team, that your team trusts you, and make sure that you resolve conflicts promptly. Resolve conflicts promptly. Don't allow things to fester. Make sure that the conflict is resolved. I like to look at things in this way. You have issues and you have problems. My job is to make sure that the issues do not turn into problems. Issues get fixed on my level. I fix the issues, I resolve the issues. A problem may need the assistance of my manager. I'm still aware of the problem. I'm still trying to fix the problem, but I'm definitely keeping my supervisor or my manager in the loop so that they can walk through the problem with me, or maybe they have a different take on how I should handle the problem. Finally, the last important thing about being an effective supervisor is to make sure that you lead by example. As a supervisor, as a team leader, you need to make sure that you're always leading by example. Someone once told me that a good supervisor is always beyond reproach. The same things that you don't want your employees doing are the same things that you should not be doing. If you want your employees to come to work on time and start working as soon as they get to work, they need to see that you're doing it. You should be at work before your subordinates show up to work because they need to see that you're there and that you started your day. You have to hold yourself to the same standards that you expect your team to be held to. So, in a nutshell, practice those 6 things. Establish clear expectations. Be fair and consistent. Seek feedback. Develop your leadership skills. Build trust and resolve conflicts promptly. And most importantly, lead by example. I'm certain you will be well on your way to being an effective supervisor. Make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Everyone that subscribes to the channel will have an opportunity to receive my free Supervisor's Pocket Guidebook once it's released, which should be in about a month. So until next week, keep leading by example, keep being a good supervisor, and I look forward to talking to you again next week.